Hey everybody, it is September 11th. It is 9/11. This is the American Micro Podcast. I am again Anthony Pago, and that's Rodney Hubbard. We thank you for coming and joining us again for the topic of the Panama Canal, the Panama Drought. Rodney, I'm in Oklahoma City. Where are you today?
I'm in Severn today. Severn, Maryland.
And you said maybe it was raining a bit, or it has been raining.
Yeah, it's rained every day for like the last 4 days, man. It's everything's pretty green. Well, Maryland is green anyways, but everything's like particularly green over the last 4 days because of the rain.
Yeah. We
Yeah.
we like predictably have rain every time our like county fair is like how you would kind of put it, but it's really the Oklahoma City Fair, or the Oklahoma Fair, the great state of Oklahoma. But it's, Oklahoma City is massive, and it's right in the center of Oklahoma City. And like without missing a beat, every year it rains predictably on the week that the Oklahoma State Fair happens, and it just started. I think it starts tomorrow, and it just started raining today. So I
Believe
don't
it
know
or
how that
not,
works.
I went to the what's it called in Tulsa? I went to that. I went to that like whatever it is, that like big festival they have in Tulsa. A friend of mine, she was down there, and I went to visit her, and I had a
Did you
good
see the
time.
big statue, the big oil man, the big oil rig dude?
I don't know. This was like 2000.
Oh, it's been around forever, but yeah, it's in a specific area. You'd have to like go to see it or whatever. But yeah, it's just a
Yeah.
big statue of an oil dude. It's really ugly, but whatever. Love you, Tulsa. So let me ask you. Like, I'm gonna again defer to your expertise because I've got some stats. I've got some stuff I'm gonna read off of that I've been listening to like on the internets, but I've double checked to make sure these stats are right. But I'm gonna defer to your expertise on Panama. I know very little about like the Colombia Panama history. You actually traveled there, so I want to hear a great deal about your experience there, but also you're great with providing us like some good historical context. So can I just hand this over to you to
Yeah,
tell us a bit?
sure. So, I mean, let's start with, what really happened because, of course, um, Theodore Roosevelt, yeah, he was the guy who was like, yeah, we want the canal. And Colombia was like, nah, I don't think so. And he was like, okay, fine. You don't want to, you really think that you're just going to like not do anything and, or we're not going to do anything. Is that what you think? Yeah, man. He sent the U.S. Navy down there. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he sent the U.S. Navy 1903. He's like, so he wanted basically, he wanted to negotiate, I think it's called the Hay-Haran Treaty with Colombia. And that would have allowed the United States to build the canal through the isthmus, isthmus,
Ismith.
yeah, that isthmus, whatever,
Yeah.
of Panama, then part of Colombia. And the Colombian Senate rejected it. They rejected the treaty of 1903. So, in response to the rejection of the treaty, Roosevelt was like, hey, you guys want your freedom? In Panama, the Panamanian nationalists, they were definitely against Colombian rule. So, on November of 1903, Panama declared its independence from Colombia, and with like overwhelming support. Well, not really. It was kind of tacit, but of the United States. So, and they went through with the treaty, and what the treaty did was it granted the United States control over a 10-mile wide strip of Panama known as the Canal Zone. Okay, in perpetuity. So, like, this is ours. Okay, that's it. And in exchange, the U.S. agreed. Check this out. The U.S. agreed to pay Panama $10 million a year annually for rent of that. That's it. $10 million. So with our ability of using that part of the world to get from point A, or get from the Gulf through to the Pacific and out to um, parts unknown, instead of going all the way around Argentina, it's economically, politically, just gave us an advantage over the, like, in a major way. So we built the canal in 1904. We started construction, and a lot of tropical diseases, stuff like that. A lot of it took probably close to a decade to complete. Okay, but the United States.
For Americans, I want to step on your toes a little bit, because
No, go for it.
In my research I did find that the French started the process, and what happened with this whole deal is the French built the first transcontinental railroad in the Americas, across this like portion of the continents, and or the continent. Once you divide it, I guess it's continents, but. So the French started, and they got like I think 11 miles into building the canal, but they had already built like the railroad all the way across the Panama region, and the French ran out of money, sort of, and the United States took that as an opportunity, as we do, to throw money at a problem, to disrupt nationalistic ideals and cause problems that bite us in the butt later. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, we supported the rebellion. That's
Right.
what we did.
Yeah.
That's how we roll. I mean, look, I was in Panama in 1987, I think it was 87, and I will tell you that if I had to go to Panama in 1903 to build a canal in the canal zone, you couldn't have made me do it.
Right.
That
No,
dude.
there were tens of thousands of deaths, and most of them were like mosquito disease borne. Did your research like bear out some of this? I can speak to it
No,
a
dude,
bit.
it's everything. It's everything. I mean, I was there. I was bitten, stung. My right foot swelled up to the size of a freaking football.
Wow.
Yeah, dude, it was, killer bees, sawgrass, swarms of mosquitoes. Not just
Yeah.
a mosquito or two. I'm talking like it looks like a cloud. Oh, that's a mosquito swarm. That's what that is.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. It was. Yeah, that's just. It's not for the faint. So I went to. Anyways, that's a whole other story.
Well, I
But
was going to mention that when they were building this whole thing, when the Americans kind of like bought into it, I say bought into it, we forced our way into it. And we'll talk. Do you have a little bit of research about the contract and how we wrote the contract, not in Spanish? We wrote it in English. Anyway, we'll talk about that in a second. To get some of this canal built, there just happened to happen at the same time, at the right time. There was a researcher who found out that malaria, was researching malaria, and found out that in the gut of mosquitoes was live malaria, and found out that their saliva also contained it. And they then assessed that mosquitoes were transferring malaria through their bites into human beings. And meanwhile, the Panama Canal was being built by like the French and eventually the United States, and many people were dying from yellow fever in the region. And because malaria was also a deal, and they were finding out that mosquitoes were transferring like mosquito-borne illnesses, they in the Panama region. They did like this massive governmental ordained or controlled effort to clean out like basically like still sitting water They just like did a massive cleanup of like let's get rid of as much as we can of the mosquitoes, and the number of deaths from the workers that were building the canal and the railroads like drastically dropped, and then the number of deaths that were occurring were basically then from your basic stuff like being dynamited to death or landslides, that kind of stuff. So yeah, go ahead.
No, so what in the beginning of this whole thing, like I said, they started building it in 1904, and with the
That's when we
treaty in
took over.
place.
That's when we took over. It began in
Yeah,
the 1800s with the French, but then the United States.
yeah. Well, yeah, I'm just talking about the United States. I mean, the guy
Yeah.
you're talking about. Hold on, let me find this guy. The
There
guy
was
that
like
you're talking.
The Eiffel Tower engineer, I think, was one of the guys that they brought on as one of the first engineers.
His name. Well, let me find it. I just had it here. How did?
So I
Yeah.
have a
So.
bit of information about this guy. So I don't know his name, but you can tell me here in a second. He built the was a great engineer over in Europe, and they brought him over, and he had been working with a different type of materials in Europe. I think it was like limestone or something, and
Mhm.
was fantastically like capable of doing this type of work. And then once he got over into the Panama region, was working with like what is it, granite or something, but it was like much harder material and wasn't able to work through it, and he ended up having to like peace out, be like, I can't do this, sorry guys. So he failed basically. Like the French also ran out of money, but it was a little bit of kind of both, like a little here and a little there of like, his engineering skills weren't up to par, and it didn't have the backing of the vast wealth that the United States later would bring, and also coercion through military power and the economic boom from stealing Native American lands. And we've gone through this in previous podcasts where the great, the numerous wealth came from the United States when you get to newly acquire like great resources.
Yeah. So